All right, it's Ken Rakowski, and we are doing a session today. We're calling it just the Financial Insider, and we're going to touch upon different things that are going on in different markets. We can talk about different stocks. There's a lot to talk about. I'm going to first, real quick, guys, don't take this offensively, but I'm going to mute everybody real quick. Everybody's muted except me, and now we can unmute things as things go on. Hey, I want to first talk about something that took place last week, which we really didn't talk about at Metal, and that was the double of what happened with Airbnb. I want you to think about Airbnb, guys. Airbnb came out of nowhere as a monster stock. They thought it was going to open initially, if you guys know, around 20 bucks. They priced it at 60 and it came out at 124. This company came out of nowhere and just, I mean, we expected it to be big, but not that big. We're looking at IPOs being magical right now, being monstrous actually. This IPO season and this idea of SPACs, these special purpose vehicles, are just blowing up too. What an amazing aggressive market time right now. And what I'd like to do before we talk about crypto and Bitcoin being at 22, I'd love to talk about what stocks you guys are excited about. Certain stocks that you get real excited. Like, for example, I think Moderna. If we talked about Moderna in the past, let's pop that open real quick and see where Moderna is. If you go look at this stock, William brought it up before, calling it software. It's software that you inject inside the body because it can literally mimic almost any type of virus or disease and make your body think it has it. And then from there, your body creates antibodies to go against it. This is a brand new concept. This company is going to go from zero to hero fairly quickly, at least I think it is. Any thoughts on anyone regarding Moderna or any other types of vaccine companies that are out there? And if you have something, just kind of, I'm going to put you guys where I could see all of you. Put you on a gallery view. Anyone on any stocks on vaccine companies? Anyone? I'm looking at hands raising. John Vitale, what's your thought on vaccine stocks? By the way, John, it's good to see you. John Vitale in the house. Woo! Hey, John.
I guess. You know, I have a cousin who does clinical trials for pharma, and he's quite a big shot in the biz. And I'm trying to pull his information, but I don't have any offhand for you guys right now.
But anything that you're excited about regarding this? I mean, we're gonna free ball it right now.
I've been kind of dipping way more into the crypto land than the regular market. So sorry, I don't have any.
You know, guys, I know you love crypto, guys, and I'm gonna just say this again as a serial investor. I want you to look at things that, because yeah, it's great seeing Bitcoin at 22.7. That's amazing. But realize for it to double, it has to go to $44,000 or $45,000 for it to double. There are tons of stocks out there that are around $20, $30, and their potential going to 60 and 90 are probably greater in a shorter time parameter than crypto going to 45. So to double and triple some of your investments, lots of companies are out there right now that I want you to pay attention to. Pay attention to ones that are sitting there. And again, I know you guys want to be ahead of the trend when it comes to Bitcoin. Great. But please pay attention to other companies.
Ken,
yes.
Fisker's doing pretty good. You had Henrik speak a couple weeks back. He IPO'd around 10 bucks. It's up 8% today. 16.39 is the price. So it's been doing pretty well for me.
Fisker's a great one. We talked about Fisker. We believe, if you guys remember, it wasn't about the car, it was about the network, the software. And Henrik's doing a lot around the software and platform of a car. And they're fairly inexpensive cars. We haven't seen the car yet, but I think he's done a great job. I'll tell you, here's one I want you to pay attention to, guys. And I'm going to talk a little about this on Saturday, is if you recall in your research, when the Spanish flu came out in 1918, I mean, it was locked down back then. It was pretty crazy, lots of deaths. But then when we went through the whole herd immunity and we started to see things die down, the economy exploded. It was called the Roaring 20s. You know, people got out, they bought, they got excited. I want you to look at this downtime as an opportunity time, knowing that we will have a roaring 2021. You know, roaring, it might be the third or fourth quarter of 2021, but it's going to explode. But look at the companies that really have taken a deep dive and have done horrible. 24-hour fitness, Gold's Gym, and Town Sports. These companies are going through bankruptcy, but which one hasn't? It's Planet Fitness. So I'm in Vegas. I'm a member of Equinox. I'm paying $250 or $300 a month for this company, for Equinox. And it's a great gym. It's been closed down. Planet Fitness has managed to stay open almost throughout the entire country. And if you haven't joined Planet Fitness, it's only $10 a month. It's $10 a month. So it sits on your credit card at a point to where you don't even see it. And if you want to unsubscribe or not be a member anymore at Planet Fitness, you have to physically go in the club. So it's kind of got that irritant factor. You're irritated enough to say, I'm not going to go in and get rid of it. Planet Fitness has done incredibly well. And I think once we're out of COVID, people are going to go back to the health club. They're not going to have as many options as they did in the past. Planet Fitness is actually a very, very interesting company to pay attention to. So pay attention to that one. Next, have you guys noticed this company called Blade? Blade is the Uber for helicopters. They're going public at an $825 million valuation. Yeah, Blade. So they're doing the whole SPAC. Okay, they're going into the public market by going after having an existing shell. And I'm telling you guys, pay attention to these. So this is like, the Warren Buffetts of the world finding a way to get over traffic in New York. It's gonna do well. Pay attention to companies like that. So I want anyone who's got any secret things that they've been thinking about. Blade is one that I've been eyeing right now. Interesting concept. How do you get?
I like the electric car companies.
Who is that?
Hujon.
Hujon.
Yeah.
So we just talked about Fisker. Interesting company, right? What's going on there? What do you got, Hujon?
Well, I like the manufacturers, and then I also look at suppliers and basic materials, on the EVs, because I think it's generational. I think we all know that, right? And with the political climate and all these countries putting a date on going electric and outlawing the ICE cars, I think it's a trend that'll continue. So, I'm looking at the car companies, I'm looking at copper, nickel, and then also the electric utilities down the road.
Right. So you're looking at the industries that are wrapped around the other industries, which is really smart.
Yep.
So the companies that propel the batteries and the storage, because that's one of the bigger problems, the storage.
Right.
Now, what do you think about companies that are based in China where we don't get to see enough of the output, like Nikola, the trucking company, or Nino? We really don't know their books, but we know their stories. Are you eagerly excited about those?
Yeah, because the market is so huge out there, and then China tends to do things within the country. So I think they're going to favor their own manufacturers. So I think that's so the ones that are actually making cars now, I'm looking at, and we'll see how they do. But they've got volumes and they're going up.
Yeah.
Like Neo and Candy and BYD, they're all in it, and BYD's making electric buses too.
That's interesting because on the community side, that's great. You want to say something, Z?
Yeah, talking about that. I can't take credit for this. My little brother did some research, called me like 3 months ago, goes, hey, you got to look at this SPAC, SDE, Switchback Energy. I said, why? He said, they're merging in SPAC case with ChargePoint. And because ChargePoint has a whole network of charging stations throughout the States. And he said, doing his research, like, I think it's a really good one. This was at $13 a share. Look at it now. And it just SPAC'd on the fifth. And we both bought in, and it just fucking killed it. It's doing amazing. So I think he's right. When I'm sorry, I don't know the last speaker there, but he's dead right about this electric car thing. Anything around that industry is going to shoot up. I think I'm looking at other ones. There's another one. I put it in the chat. INAQ, INAQ. It's also a SPAC, but it's going to go into insurance. And there's a new insurance company coming out called Metro Mile that bills per mile. So it's going to be a lot cheaper for people who don't drive much, which is a lot of people now. So
Yeah.
I think they're going to change the industry as far as how, and that's what they're saying, that we're going to change how this is all happening. Because you may only pay $20 a month if your car just sits in the garage for most of the time versus what you're paying now. So they're going to SPAC into this INAQ pretty soon.
INAQ, look at that. All right, so guys, this is what I'm saying. When you start to see something you find interesting, let's talk about it. Here's a crazy one. I'm at $8.36. I find Zynga to be very interesting. Now, if you don't remember what Zynga was, they used the garden of Facebook to exploit the gaming world. So if you were on Facebook and you remember Zombies versus Plants or Word with Friends, all these games, Zynga really owned this marketplace until Facebook decided to say, hey, we're going to change the way you do things here. We're going to make it harder. We're going to take larger percentages of your profits. So Zynga said, hey, we got to step away from this. So where they're going is they're going after the speaker market. They're creating games for smart speakers. So if you think about Alexa and Google, they found ways to put it there. So all of a sudden, we see a company whose stock has been flat for a long time. It's going up. If you go look at Zynga, its ticket symbol is, I think it's, I don't know, was it ZNGA? You could see it slowly ticking up now because it found a brand new market. And this is a company that for it to double won't be all that hard. Going back to that idea of Bitcoin at 22.7, that's great. It means for it to double, it's got to go to 45. Here's something that's $8.25 for it to double. Isn't that difficult? Let's go look at Zynga again, ZNGA. So
I've got one, Ken. Here's speaking of gaming and the IPO market. Roblox, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, ROBLOX, is a gaming company that appeals particularly esports and e-gaming that appeals to particularly to kids. They were going to IPO and they decided to pull their IPO because they felt like they weren't pricing the IPO generously enough based upon looking at the Airbnb and the jumps that that had happened in the initial pricings. So that'll probably be an interesting one when it does come out in 2021. So that's one I think to keep an eye on that's not yet publicly traded, but could be kind of interesting. And then the other thing,
tell more stories, guys. We want to hear the stories on why you think the way it is. Good one. Who's next?
And I just want to say one more thing. I'm looking at RV parks and mobile home parks.
I love that one.
Yeah, that's great.
Is there a stock for that, or are you just looking at buying one? Because I'd like to buy one.
Well, yeah, go look at Winnebago. Look at what are the RV companies that are out there? They're very interesting. And we talked about those actually at the beginning of COVID. I said those were really, really good buys, and they've done incredibly well. Hey, Jake, go for it, Jake.
Yeah, so I think I really like copper. I think we're going to be going into a super cycle for commodities. I think copper is going to do well for three potential reasons. One, if the US dollar continues to kind of slide, copper is going to do better. If we get more risk on assets and we're building all over and we're doing a lot more infrastructure spending, which I think the government's going to do, copper is in everything. And all of these electric cars and all the EV all need copper. So something like FCX, Freeport McMoran, or if you play the copper futures, are a great way to go about it. But I think FCX gets you done, and it's up almost 100% this year.
So we're looking at anything again to allow us to have battery storage, because you're right. It seems like since we're all moving in those directions, that's where we're going to go. It's smart. See, I like hearing these things, guys. Let's talk about companies that have stories behind them that make sense moving forward, or the ones that have been hurting. Like, if we go look at Carnival Cruise Lines, do you think that right there, CCL, do you think that once the vaccine's back, people are going to start going on cruises? So is something like a CCL, let's see where CCL is right now. CCL, Carnival Cruise Lines. Carnival is at 2160. Let me go look at the last year. A year ago, it was at about $50. So at 2160, can it get back to 50? And could it do it a year from now if there's a vaccine and people start to feel comfortable? See, there's another possible double of a stock within a year. So right now it's almost at, it's not at its bottom. Its bottom, by the way, guys, was at about $7. So look what it's done already. It's performed. I think I bought it. Where did I buy it at? I bought it at 12. So I was buying it at 12, but you could see that companies like this, once people start to feel confident, they're going to get back to what their old lives used to be. I'll tell you, the companies that are going to go through hell are the movie theaters. Movie theaters are going to go through hell because what's starting next week? What starts next week is HBO Max is launching Wonder Woman, and then every other major Warner movie, Dune, Godzilla versus King Kong, every major box office big ticket movie is going to streaming. They're going to streaming. The reason why is because if you guys remember, Disney was going through hell. All their parks were closed. Disney didn't have a lot of IP sold. People weren't going to stores. But all of a sudden, Disney's stock price started ticking up. Well, what's going on with Disney? Well, because they put more money and emphasis into Disney Plus. And everyone started saying, oh, it's a streaming service, Disney Plus. Let's pay attention to Disney Plus. And somehow, some way, people forgot about all the other assets of Disney, being their theme parks and their IP. And they looked at them as a streaming service going, they're just like Netflix. Let's give them credit. And look what's happened. Disney now is announcing all their major superhero stuff. They announced Loki, Thor, all their Marvel stuff. They're making more and more content for Disney Plus. Their stock's doing incredibly well. So Warner Brothers, which is owned by AT&T, they're not doing all that well. You saw that they're getting rid of Dish Network because that was a horrible acquisition. They're thinking, we got to do something. We got all of these movies that are sitting around ready to go. We have no theaters to put them out at. Let's just put them all up online. And the irony is AT&T is looking good right now. People are thinking Warner, being HBO Max, is now a streaming service, all this great content. Yeah, but now remember, all that content, you got massive lawsuits that are about to happen because the companies that made these movies thought they were going to be billion-dollar movies, can't go to a theater right now, so they can't pay their actors properly. This is going to be a train wreck. But short term, AT&T is interesting because now it's a streaming company starting December 25th. Pay attention to that. But boy, talk about killing the movie theaters. So theaters are going to drop even more in January. What an interesting time to buy. Because theaters are going to go, we got to come up with a better model. We can't compete with first run HBO Max anymore. We got to come up with a better experience. They'll bottom out. You're going to be able to buy AMC probably for $3 or $4. That to be $15, $20, $30 is totally realistic within 1 year. So you could double on a company like that. So pay attention to these type of stories, okay? So again, I know we're into crypto. I get excited about just you do too, but I'm looking at companies where we can see doubles in a short period of time because everything's on sale right now.
AMC's down there right now. It's at like $3 or something like that, isn't it? 3 or 4.
What an interesting buy.
Yeah.
You know, guys, buy $100 or buy 100 shares of AMC. It's $300. $300. So start to think about these companies that are insanely depleted because of COVID that are either going to redesign themselves or everyone's going to jump to. Planet Fitness to me is very, very interesting. They went from six clubs 4 years ago to what, 2,300 now. They're owning the market and they have a great, interesting revenue model. So want to talk about those. Anything else before we jump into, let's see, IAC owns a ton of dating apps. Dating apps are fascinating. I like the idea of dating apps. There's a lot of money on there. Teddy used to be on every one of them. Teddy would be like the king. Teddy and Z.
He wrote a book on him. I read his book on him.
Actually, you want to hear something funny? I used to be the host of a talk show called What's Up with Dating. So that's true.
You know, that's how I got the name Ethan, because of a dating app.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it is.
Swear to God, a long time. I swear. I'll tell you a story later.
Wait. Your parents named you Ethan because of a dating app?
No, my parents named me Ziad. Z-I-A-D is my name.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are we looking at? What is that?
It's funny on Robinhood. It says AMC 0% buy. It recommends buying at 0%, which is bullshit. Why would they say that? But
Bankruptcy, maybe?
I've never seen a 0% buy on
Wow.
Robinhood.
But
Yeah, there's risk of
all
bankruptcy.
those,
Yeah.
look at
There's
all
something about massive share selling.
If a company goes bankrupt, what happens to your shares?
Well, you got two options. One, and we've seen this, airlines do this all the time, by the way. I mean, if you go look at American Airlines, they've gone through bankruptcy, right? We've seen automotive companies go through bankruptcy. I bought tons of GM when they went on bankrupt. I did incredibly well at GM. So you bottom at the bottom, buy it at the bottom and watch it pop back up.
Yep.
Anyone else on the stock market? Anybody else have any insight?
You don't lose your
Let
share.
me do this, guys. Wait. I'm going to first go to Nick. Hey, Nick.
Hey there, how are you? So two quick ones. One is one of my kids is a trader. He likes GameStop a lot. He thinks that GameStop has a good play. And so that's something I think to keep an eye on. And then another one of my friends who's a very successful young entrepreneur who's got a lot of money. I was speaking to him 2 months ago and he's like, what are you doing? He says, I'm going to roll up a whole bunch of mobile home parks. And I'm like, James, of all the money you could spend on all the things that you could do, why mobile home parks? And he said 2 reasons, really. He says the underlying real estate is really good. But more importantly, if you look at what percentage the average mobile home liver spends on the cost of their housing versus the rest of the market, it's way, way lower. Okay. So if I live in a mobile home park, it might be spending 20% of my income on my house. If I'm renting, I might be spending 40% of my income. So he likes that percentage of what people's outlay is. And he thinks that there's a play to roll them all up under one brand and obviously save money on services and stuff. But I think that that was an interesting thought on that.
Heck, think about that mobile home park that's right there between Santa Monica and Malibu. I mean, it's got to be some of the most expensive real estate in all of Los Angeles right there.
Right. You could live there for $6,000 a month, right? Because that's what the HOA fees are, right? But the land value is huge. So anyway,
Nick, can I chime in on the mobile home park thing?
Hey, Ron.
Hey, Ken. So a friend of mine, Bruce Johnson, unfortunately we lost him this year, but he started doing that, I'll call it 30 years ago, him and a partner, and they just kept buying them around the country. And they made an absolute fortune and they just never sold them. And in their own words, when I sat in their office one day, he said, I have a lot of people sending me a few $100s a month.
Right.
But I mean, literally bought a $50 million house. Like they have amazing residual income that just never stops. So and it's a good business. And, you know, I don't know what's available to roll up now, but there's always an opportunity.
And the other similar sort of thinking model perhaps is storage units, right? And storage, you've got all that residual income. And then of course, when people stop paying their bills, then you've got all of that auction business, which is also an interesting business. So storage units have always traditionally been a good
So
burner.
Nick, I can speak to that because I used to own some. And we always believed that they were recession resistant.
Mm-hmm.
However, 2009, that didn't happen. And I literally can tell you, I had a very large facility I had just built in Phoenix, Arizona area. And we were rented out for about 10 months. It's like 2.5 years to rent it to full. And we were doing better than our numbers.
Yeah.
And on one particular day in 2009, not only did we not rent any more units, some huge percentage just stopped paying and never came back for their stuff.
Right.
it just dropped out. And the whole market changed after that. And a lot of the bigger companies actually did go down.
Right.
And the other thing I want to say is, and by the way, I do love the business. One reason I chose it was because it's a real estate play, but also I could have 500 units and have 2 or 3 employees. So I love that ratio of not being overburdened with employees. But there's another model now, and it's worth looking at. There's 2 competitors, Clutter and MakeSpace. And they did a fascinating thing. One of them is public. I think it's Clutter, but might be the other. They bought real estate, let's just say Los Angeles, and they are nationwide. In LA, they bought cheap industrial real estate in East LA. And instead of you going there, they have trucks with very well-groomed delivery guys that show up to you and will pack your stuff or just pick it up. They pack it beautifully. They have an app, so everything's photoed and labeled. They bring it to their facility and stack it in an organized fashion, and you pay for the square footage of the floor only, and it stacks up. And so on the west side of LA, for a 10 by 10 unit, you might pay $800, some ridiculous amount. With them, you'll pay $150 or $200. It's incredibly inexpensive and a great thing. You do have to call them for things. They come to you, and that could take a few days. But overall, it's a great model, and the market is growing. So there's a couple of plays there.
Good call on that. I like hearing that. Good suggestion.
Ken,
Yes.
I've got one for you. Okay, so one of my best friends, who's a brilliant venture investor in robotic surgery, he was a co-founder of a company called Mako Surgical. He sold to Stryker for $1,600,000,000. He's just launched a SPAC, and that SPAC is called Medtech Acquisition Corp.
Okay.
And the symbol is MTACU. I think it's pricing like today or tomorrow. So, it may not start trading, but usually these SPACs start trading at $10 a share.
Yeah. That's like the
And
magic
it's
number.
a unit. So you get the share and you get a warrant, and you can strip off the warrant and ultimately either sell or redeem the shares. This guy is a winner, and the team that he's put together. So this is pre-acquisition. You're getting in on the ground floor of a SPAC that I think is highly certain to find a great acquisition and buy it. And so it's ahead.
There you go. Great. See, I love hearing stuff like that. Different stories. Hey guys, I want to show you something that's really interesting. I want you to pay attention. Again, we're looking at the double. Okay. I always want to look at what you could turn into a double opportunity. Something happened with Spotify that's very interesting. And I'm not sure if you guys pay attention to Spotify. On November 16th, it was at $2 or $245 a share. And then all of a sudden, a week later, it's at $100 more per share. It's at $340. $100 in almost less than a week. And you're thinking, why would a music stock, being a company that stream music, just explode and jump up? First reason is Joe Rogan is only heard on Spotify now. So Joe Rogan going to Spotify, you can't see him on YouTube, you can't get it on on iTunes. And the other thing is Spotify wants more and more podcasts. Why? Well, because they don't pay for royalty when people stream podcasts. So they're aggressively going after this new centralization for podcasts, giving podcasters more tools than Apple is, anyone else is, because they're going, hey, let's get these podcasts, because when people play these over and over again, and they're going to promote them like as much as possible, we don't have to pay any royalties to the artist for the music. So when I look at a company that's around that 350, this is a smart business model to go, again, double. This could easily be a $500, $600 stock because of that gameplay. So pay attention to Spotify with the market that they're going after, and that is the global podcast market. Don't just think US. English might be the #1 spoken language around the world. I know everyone's going to say it's Chinese, but actually English uniformly is actually the most spoken. But Think about it. They go into the Mandarin market, they go into the Spanish market, and they go after podcasts, not music. That could be a very interesting play. And Spotify is, out here in the Middle East, everyone listens to Spotify. We're sitting in a restaurant. What music you listen to? They would say, oh, it's a Spotify playlist. Do you want us to share it with you? It's crazy. Spotify is everywhere. All right. Anything else on stocks before we go into crypto? Anyone else? Hey, David, sure. Let's hear from you, buddy.
So there's a little group that I had created, and we were starting out by sharing our loves and hates and concerns about Bivy and OnTrack. And by the way, Taryn was on Monday, and he said to make sure that you knew that he showed up. He thought it was a metal event. We have a bunch of metal guys, but whatever. So through this group, there was a fellow who was invited on who looks at microcaps, and his largest holding is a company that the stock symbol is T like Thomas, FFP, Thomas Frank Paul, and it's thin film freezing pharmaceutical. So they basically take pharmaceuticals and they freeze them. So for for COVID vaccines and so on, where you've got all the cold storage issues, they can basically freeze it, transport it frozen, reconstitute it. And, it's his favorite holding. He thinks it's going to explode. They have a lot of deals with other companies where they're testing out the process. And in essence, by inhaling the drug, you can get more of it in your body with less toxic after effect.
So
when you're
they're
taking
a
a
delivery
pill.
company.
I'm sorry?
It's a delivery company.
It is a delivery, and they're going to be doing, deals and licensing deals with a lot of other companies. So that's his holdings. He has a personal holding of about 15 or 20 stocks. I think almost 30% of his holding is in this one stock, and then he's got others. So it's his favorite one.
Wow.
So I'll put it in the chat of what the symbol is.
But again, good story. I like hearing those type of stories on how it can justify what it is, right? And you just said it. By the way, going back to Moderna, when I started telling you guys to buy Moderna, it was at about 30, 32, I think. And right now Moderna is 140. So if we go to that double, there's another one of those companies. Now the question is, can it be more than 140? This is a $500 stock in my mind, my opinion, because again, they don't put viruses in your body or a version of the virus. They make your body think it has the virus to create the antibodies. So they can deliver anything to the body. It's software as a pharmaceutical company. So what they put inside your body, they make your body think it's got it, creates the antibodies. So they just have to figure out what that mechanism is to trick your body. Pay attention to this one, guys. It's MOD. I think at 140, it's still a very, very interesting buy. And I think a double of this one could happen. I think this is an easy $500 stock. So pay attention to this. Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts on cannabis companies? They've been pretty beaten up, and it looks like next year there's a significant chance that it's going to become legal federally.
Yep. So let's talk about the Biden administration. Biden administration is definitely going to go and allow to remove the federal issues around cannabis, because right now, remember, cannabis or anything around the cannabis space in the United States, it is a federal offense. Sure, states like California and Illinois, it's legal, but it's still a federal offense across state borders. I totally believe the new administration will remove that, which means is we'll see companies explode. Now,
Sorry.
What's that?
Oh, my bad. I'm on mute. Sorry, guys.
But I think
I
think,
had a hot dog
guys, what's going on?
tomorrow.
Mute
I had
yourself.
a hot dog. I'm just having some veggies.
Who's
Thank you.
doing hot dogs?
That's okay.
Michael's having a hot dog.
Michael.
Michael,
Damn it.
mute
Go ahead.
yourself. God. So I want you to think about a company. Look at, I think it was Trill or Tilray. Tilray just merged, and they just became I think the largest pot company right now.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not massive.
They're going
but-
through the merger right now.
So Tilray is very interesting because I'm not sure if you guys know, the company that they're buying acquired Sweetwater, which is a beer company. So this is something that I think is going to happen, guys. we're going to see, especially once the administration lifts those federal issues, is we'll see cannabis now like wine. Because remember, at one point in time, you couldn't go off and buy wine from a vineyard in California. If you lived in Illinois, they couldn't ship wine across state lines. They couldn't do that. So what's going to happen is, think about cannabis products in infused beverages. So you'll have CBD or THC inside beer, inside water, all these things across state lines. So don't think about companies that are just doing cannabis as a edible or something that you're vaping. Get much more broader and look at other delivery mechanisms and more leisure products that will be more cannabis focused or CBD or THC focused. And that company merger, let's see if I have that. I think I saw that just the other day. I was just reading it. It's Tilray, right? Tilray. And so they're combined. Alfria, right?
Alfria. Yeah.
Alfria and Tilray. Yeah, that's it. They're merging, guys. So pay attention to that. Let's see if I got a price on their stock right now. It's not substantial. I don't think it is. It's
$8.90.
Yeah, very interesting buy. Again, you asked that question. And by the way, it peaked at $148, this company, $148. It right now is at $9. So it's $8.90. Double on this one? Absolutely, on where they're going. Smart moves on this.
And can I build on that? I mean, my thinking is that given how strapped all the states are, that they're going to want to tax anything they can. And these sin taxes that will then become legal, I think that, and I think psilocybin, as that's going to start rolling out, that's probably going to be another next wave down the road.
I think you're right, but I don't think it's going to be a massive adoption on that. I think
the psilocybin or the cannabis.
The psilocybin. I think there's going to be
that's a longer term.
Yeah, there's education. Remember, anytime you have to educate, then evangelize, then you have to sell. So you have these 3 steps where cannabis has already gone through the education and it's already being evangelized. People go, yeah. They just don't know how to get it. And I think once those avenues open up, it'll explode. All right.
Ken, can I bring up an AR company?
Yeah, actually, we got an amazing. Hey, check this out. I want to play this voicemail that I got a moment ago. Listen to this.
All right, Ken Ratowski III. I'm sitting here with Giselle, and I've got Nick Janicki, who's going to be on Metal on Saturday. If I can pop on, I will. If I can't, I won't.
This is Joe Polish.
I told him he actually prepared sort of a presentation, a short presentation for you guys. But I told him the way that you do it is you just interview people. So Nick, what is the title of what you prepared?
It is Virtual Reality is the Future of Metal. And then I go into art, technology, media, and how those things apply in a virtual reality space and how everyone
So that's VR. I know you're going to do AR, but that's going to be Saturday. That's going to be a pretty cool demonstration on Saturday. So let's have some fun at that Metal. But go for it.
Okay, great. So, which sounds fantastic, by the way. So there's a company I've known about now for about a year. I've been in and out of them. I've made some money. I am not in them now, but they're a small micro cap company. I like the management, and what they did earlier this year is they had the tech, and they had a hard time trying to get revenue from it. So what they started doing was buying companies that they could put their tech in, and that gave them the delivery system. So they've been very successful at that through the course of this year. Their revenues are growing, and I've played them from $2 to $4. And yes, they dropped back down. They're up at over $5 now. But if you look at their acquisitions and what they're doing with them and what the CEO is being able to achieve, it's pretty amazing. And they are delivering, by the way, conferences, and they've delivered thousands of them with their technology. And they do holograms through your phone. It's pretty revolutionary. Not that the tech hasn't been there from other people, but how he's combining that with the delivery system. I think they could have a pretty significant.
What's the company called?
Nextech, Nextech. Their ticker symbol is NEXCF. NEXCF.
I'm just gonna tell you guys, so I have my trading platform open right now, and almost everything you guys are saying, I'm buying a share or 10 shares just to get it. So I've made $216 of purchases while I've been talking, because I get one share here. So I'm kind of curious to see what's going to be of the suggestions you guys made, say a month from now, and see who actually exploded on something. All right, before we dive.
Ken, real quick, Ron, what was that ticker?
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, it's
So before
golden
we go
chat
into
here.
crypto, I want to talk real quick about here where I'm at. So I'm in Dubai, guys, and I'm gonna live here, I think. I'm gonna spend 6 months a year here. Now, why? So as I'm here, all of a sudden, I get a call from Akon. Akon goes, "Oh, I'm here." Okay, so I'm hanging out with Akon. And then you guys, some of you guys might know Wayne Boss, billionaire, one of the richest guys from Australia. He goes, "Oh, I'm here. I'm looking for a place." And then a bunch of my other very, very wealthy or billionaire friends say, "Yeah, I'm here too." They're all coming here. One, property is super inexpensive. Money has flowed in here. There are more cranes here than anywhere I've ever seen them in my life. There's cranes on every block, and they're all going vertical. Everything's getting built. Now, what's really fascinating is I was talking to the Minister of Innovation, and he brought in the Minister of Entrepreneurship. They have all these ministers. And they told me that without a doubt, they're going to launch gambling here. Now, that may not be a big deal to anyone, but it is a big deal because it's, in theory, seen as taboo in Islamic states. So Singapore did this, if you remember. They opened up gambling, and they made it so if you were a Singaporean, you couldn't gamble. They only made it so the Chinese could come there. But this is what gave Adelson, who owns the Sands, it just exploded because gambling blew up Singapore, blew it up. And now what they do is they allow Singaporeans to go in there, but they have to pay $50 more to go gambling. It's kind of crazy. If that happens here, even though the economy is really starting to move up, this will be explosive. Now, I'm trying to set up some stuff, guys, to where I can get you out here to check things out. I'm going to do some metal events. Actually, our first one's on the 28th. For about 70 people, I'm going to do here. I'm going to do a metal on a Monday night just to get people together. I think that Dubai literally might be one of these new centers of the world. It might be the new Switzerland for the entire Middle East. And one of the biggest things that happened is, if you remember, there's this unification of Israel and UAE. So there's more Jewish people walking around Dubai than ever before. And they're in awe. They're looking around. It's like, wow, look at this. We've never been able to come here before. And when I talked to a real estate agent, they go, yeah, they're buying like crazy. They're bringing all their money here. So pay attention to Israel. I think there's a big to Dubai, huge opportunity there. Last thing before I bring Mr. Michael Turpin on. Yes.
Hey, Ken, how long can you, what the visa, how long can you be in Dubai?
So you can do a quick 1 month. That's not a problem, but I'm going to go for a 10-year, and it could take about 2 weeks for me to get a 10-year visa. Pretty easy. Pretty easy. Now, obviously, as Williams brought up over and over again, doesn't mean if you make money here, the U.S. government's not going to take it. They are. But you know, whatever you do here, if you keep money here and you work with an entity over here, it's tax-free. All your employees are tax-free. They don't have to pay. So if you have a business here and you're running it, you don't have to pay taxes to the people that work with you in this country. Very, very different. Last thing before I bring Michael Turpin on. Today is an anniversary. I want you to think about this day 10 years ago. Somebody ended up buying a pizza. And Michael Turpin probably will know this person's name. It was like Lazardo or something like this. 10,000. Laszlo, that's it. 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 Papa John pizzas, which if you bought that today, that's $227 million for those 2 pizzas. And the worst part of it, those pizzas had pineapple on it. They were the Hawaiian pizzas. So that's like the worst end of that whole story.
No,
God.
the worst part is that the person who took the $10,000 Bitcoin no longer has it, and the person who sold it at the time had over 100,000 Bitcoin, and he ended up selling the rest of it to buy a computer.
Oh my gosh.
He was 19 years old, and this is actually it's interesting because that story's been around so long that it wasn't until Nathaniel Popper from the New York Times wrote his great book, Digital Gold, and he did a lot of research into the story that he uncovered the reason why he had so many Bitcoin as a 19-year-old. And it was because he was the first person to be able to figure out how to mine Bitcoin with GPU cards because he was a gamer.
Oh,
everybody else was doing CPUs, and he just started like taking the big shares of the block. He actually got a note from Satoshi saying, cut it out.
Really?
Yep, because he said, we're not supposed to be developing this quickly. I knew this was gonna happen, but not yet.
Wow.
Great book, by the way, Digital Gold by Nathaniel Popper. It's from 2016, I think, but it's a great story, early days.
Nick, you want to say something?
By the way, if anybody has a,
Nick, well, real quick, Nick was saying something. Nick, go ahead.
Just one more stock for your list.
Oh,
in David's group on Monday, somebody was a huge fan of what's going on at Harley Davidson, and the new management at Harley Davidson is a guy who ran Puma for the last 20-something years. He's a German guy who's about 50 now, but he was 28 when he took over Puma. And this person was saying that Harley Davidson is well worth watching. And if you look at Harley Davidson's performance over the last 6 months, you can see there's a big kick there, but they're putting some big strategic moves. So that might be another one for your.
They're going electric.
They're going electric. I bought a bunch of Harley Davidson. I'm a big fan of it. I bought it when it was at 22. Let me see where it's at right now. It's at 36. The reason why is Harley figured something out. Old people buy their bikes, not young. And what they were doing is they were making bikes for a younger generation. They're putting too much emphasis in that. So they want to focus on the hog market. So they axed almost 80% of their other bikes, focusing on the older, richer people are going to buy their higher ticket stuff. And it was very, very smart. So he got rid of inventory, the 80-20 rule. He got rid of 80% and focused on the 20, which is giving them 80% of their revenue. So Harley's I like Harley. I bought, like I said, I've seen the stock double. This is what I'm saying, guys. Michael, I know you're Mr. Bitcoin and you probably masturbate to it all the time, but guys, I want you to look at the double of other companies that are out there that are sitting low and they're going to jump up. We're going to go into the roaring 2021s. So look at those companies that are sitting down there. But Michael, I think we're at 22,700 right now.
22.9, yeah.
Okay,
we were briefly over 23, yeah.
So you want to do what everyone does on CNBC and make some type of future perspective, look into your crystal ball and tell us what you think Bitcoin's going to be?
I've been talking about this for quite a while. Again, not financial advice, but I think it's going to be between 100 and 200,000 by the end of 2021. And if you read analysts like Plan B, if you just sort of look at the, I think it was Mark Twain that said, history doesn't repeat, but it tends to rhyme. If you look at the way that the 4-year cycles work, and I think that this was programmed in by Satoshi intentionally. In fact, recently I was thinking that he even had it in the particular years because they're also presidential election years. And, a few other things happened during those years. But when you have the halving, it's usually a move up just before the halving. So stock markets, as you all know, are about 10-year cycles, 7 to 10-year cycles, where it's a slow bull market and you can keep a little bit of money every year until all of a sudden you have to gamble at the top and then a black swan event happens and crash. This time is a little different because they just keep on printing more and more and more money. Usually they don't do that. And then the rich get richer because they buy in when everybody else is busted. And then the cycle starts again. and that's been going on for 100 years, and it tends to end at the end of a decade. If you look at the big crashes, 89, 2000, 2009, we lasted a little bit longer here to, the crash at the start of this year, but there are reasons for it, 10-year buying cycles, et cetera. The other one that's very consistent is the sell in May and go away, and you buy back in November. You miss almost all of the crashes. That's been true for 50 years. I did that religiously when I was in stocks. That way I missed the entire 08, 09 crash because I was completely in cash at that point, and I waited to buy back in like March when everything was like being given away, and tripled my money pretty quickly, and then went into real estate. My wife still buys stocks. I don't have time. I've got way too many crypto things to be looking at. But for Bitcoin, Bitcoin, of course, is the engine that then drives everything else. There are altcoin cycles that go around it. But what happens is that if you look at, we are right now where we were at the start of 2017. So, and that was when everybody was like saying, oh my God, we just hit the all-time high. We never thought we'd be at $1,000 again. Sell, sell, sell.
Michael,
that was in January.
Why did Bitcoin tank then? Why did it peak and then go down? Take us back in time.
Sure. Because what happens is that we're in 4-year cycles for Bitcoin, not 10-year cycles. And what happens is that just like the stock market, the dumb money gets in last, right? I mean, there's an old saying from, I think, the 30s or 40s, when your shoe shine boy starts giving you stock tips, it's time to sell. Well, when your taxi driver starts asking if they should buy Ripple or Thor chain, that's time to sell. We're not there yet. So, I mean, just now, Google search for Bitcoin just started ticking up. Didn't tick up for this entire year when we quadrupled the price. It's only been since it's hit the all-time high. Now, hitting the all-time high this last week and going over 20,000 is the equivalent of us going over 1,000 4 years ago. Right. And everybody said, oh my God, it's 1,000, yay. Oh my God, it just went to 1,500. By the end of the year, it was 20,000. Now, what happens is that the last people to come in are the emotional, FOMO-driven retail market. They don't get in until it's already at the all-time highs. And then they, quit their day jobs and start day trading and, mortgage their houses, and they get wrecked because the whales then realize that it's overshot where it should go. The analysis that I've done, and this isn't anything I've seen anybody else do, I've seen variations of it on the theme, is I look at what the price is from the halving to the all-time high. And I also look at where the low is in that cycle. The first halving was in November of 2012. It was $12. The all-time high of that cycle, which happens typically so far in the fourth quarter after the year of the halving, was 1,200. So it was only on Mt. Gox because that was the only real exchange there. There was only about 1 million people who had wallets, but it went 100x. Well, that probably overshot what the fundamentals should have been at the time, because there were some FOMO people who got in when it went from 100 to 1,000 really quickly. And so with Bitcoin, instead of having a long bull market and a sharp drop, you have a long bear market and a parabolic rise. And the parabolic rise can be very short. I mean, it went from 100 to 1,000 in 2013 in just a couple of weeks. And if you remember, in 2017, it went from 2,500 to 20,000 in about 7 weeks.
Wow.
So we're going to see that again. So yes, maybe it's not going to be 45,000 until October, but it could then go up to 150,000 in December.
All right.
And then it'll crash. But and so far the first two crashed. Oh, so the first one was 100x. The second one was 30x, because once you crashed from 1,000, it was a slow meltdown. It took like about 1.5 years of like, Bitcoin is dead, Bitcoin is dead. The all-time low for the intermediate cycle was $150, 85% drop from the high. At that point, all in, I was telling people all year, that was the year I was telling people more aggressively, when it was 200 for almost that whole year. Should I buy some Bitcoin? It's freaking $200. How much can you lose? And I believe it's going to be 10,000 by the end of the decade. Obviously, I was short on that one by quite a bit. I said it was going to be 10,000, but that was when it was $200. I said it would be $10,000, and I said that in 2014. And obviously, it's 20,000. So,
So Michael,
but,
real quick, Michael, are you doing okay? Are you healthy now?
oh, thank you. Yeah, that was kind of a surprise. I basically went to what was considered to be the hottest restaurant in Puerto Rico, and they didn't say that part of the heat was the fact that they had salmonella. It's a celebrity chef restaurant, and I had the lamb, and it was medium rare, but unfortunately, it had salmonella. Actually, everybody at my table got a little bit sick. I got sick without really knowing it was salmonella until all of a sudden I just had like 2 pints of blood pour out of my ass, and I got rushed to the hospital. And I was in there for 13 days. The first night, if Maxine had not been quick enough getting me there, they said I probably would have died if I waited till the morning or if I got there a little bit later. But the team at Ashford Medical Center in Condado Beach is exceptional. I had 14 doctors working on me over the time, and they fixed everything, including, I had 2 sources of bleeding, a bleeding ulcer that popped up a week later that I'm still on an ulcer diet for, but within 12 weeks, they say I'll be able to eat anything.
Good.
And then the original, yeah.
Michael, you're doing okay now.
I am
See, what
doing
happens is
fine.
here's the problem, Michael. When you get old, we talk about our pain and suffering more when we get old. When we're young, we talk about a recovery. You ever notice that? Yeah, man, I hurt my knee, but now I'm back. I'm jumping around. I'm playing basketball. And when we're old, we go, oh yeah, my knee, I couldn't go shopping, and I'm gonna sit and.
Well, I'm talking about my recovery still.
Talk
I'm
about the
talking about my
recovery.
recovery. Yeah, I am, and I'll tell you, my one of the things that happened, because this is a nasty thing that like I didn't even know I had it. I was looking up symptoms. I thought maybe I had like food poisoning, and then I thought I had like a parasite. In Puerto Rico, also they have these drugstores that basically will just dispense medicine with you with the
Michael, are you talking about the pain again, or are you talking about the recovery?
Talking about the system in Puerto Rico.
The recovery, man. You're feeling great again, right?
I am, and actually the amazing thing was part of what this thing happened was it dehydrated me so much that when I came in, I technically had kidney failure. And
Michael,
now I'm back to like good as new.
You're doing it. Watch this. Hey, Z,
What's
you've
up?
had COVID. How you doing?
100%, man. Gone.
Feeling great?
Beat that shit with over-the-counter bullshit like this. Take this, go on.
Recovery, Michael. Old people talk about the pain. Young people talk about the recovery and feeling great. Just remember that. Always stay young, guys. Yeah, you bled out of your ass, but look at you now. Look how great you look. Let's.
Wait, last minute about Bitcoin,
I'm back.
Michael. Is my Bitcoin going to have a massive drop here, or is it because of this time so many people are in it versus before?
No,
right?
no. The reason why it's not going to have a massive drop now is because we're in the last leg of the bull market. You're going to have volatility, so you could go from like 25 down to like 18, but that's a buying opportunity because this is the leg up. The time you want to sell is fourth quarter, or probably around November, December. When all of a sudden everybody's going, oh my God, it's at 150, it's going to hit a 500,000. That's when you want to sell, because once you start seeing that, then that's when the FOMO, that's when it's retail driven. The retail driven are the ones who are going to, right now, nobody I know is selling of whales, of old timers. In fact, one of my best friends in the crypto space just posted, he said, I just bought Bitcoin at the all-time high because I'm not selling any Bitcoin until 100,000. So that's 5x in a year. And he had stuff probably still from, when it was $50. But I think right now the risk for the next year is very low.
Guys, we're going to have to get going. We're over an hour. Hey, I will prepare more on the stock. I thought we're going to have 2 guests today. Apparently they didn't show up. So I wasn't prepared on the stock side. I just will tell you the stories of things I'm looking at, but I'll be much more prepared next time and really.
Yeah, I know Black Tower, give them shit.
yeah, I am going to give them shit actually, because they said they were going to be here. I think it's a disrespectful thing, by the way. So I'm not too keen about that. But guys, I'll prepare more next week and give you some charts and do a little more Jim Cramer on you, so I can show you where things are going.
Next time, bring Ari. He's the more charismatic one, anyway.
Well, neither one of them, none of them are charismatic because they didn't show up. So not a good thing.
Give our best to Quigley too. We miss him.
Guys, send him an email. Send him an email.
Is he going to come back next year for this?
What's that?
Is he going to start doing this again next year?
Don't know, guys. Don't know. Depression's not something you could put a time on.
Man, just send him over to my house. I'll take care of it. Just send him over to my house. I got this. I'm sure him up, man.
Go to your house because you're okay now. You got the antibodies. You don't care who comes over.
I'm good, man.
All right, guys. Thank you so
See ya.
much, guys. I'll see you all later on. I'll see you Saturday at
Thanks,
Metal.
Ken. Welcome
Bye,
back,
everyone.
Michael.
Thanks,
Welcome back
Ken.
to
That was